FC Cincinnati hosts Inter Miami, and they just outclassed them 3-0. Then last night, you get down 1-0, 14th minute, no problem. Messi back to his old ways. He gets a brace, gets 2 assists. The team wins 5-1. Is this just soccer in general? Like, there's going to be some matchups. There's going to be some good ones, bad ones, and there's going to be days you think we're the best team in the league. Right now, I think we're the best team in the league. There's going to be days where you're like, man, we're not that good.
Yeah, I think we've talked about it before, right, fellas? We've talked about how parity affects the league, how we should, expect things like this to happen. Also, I was listening to the last segment just to let folks know I'm going to the Coldplay concert. I'm going with my wife.
Oh, so good job.
I won't be photographed like a certain CEO and go viral.
By the way, that CEO not making that much money. Not a powerful company.
Not anymore, though. He lost his job.
Not anymore. Yeah. Oh, it's over for him. He's done so?
Oh, yeah.
They let him go?
Yeah, we kept it. Damn. So, Coldplay, good. Going with your wife, so nobody try to stir up anything with Daniel Solana.
Exactly. But what I wanted to get into, I heard you asked, when do we need to start believing in this team, right? That was your question. When do we need to start believing? And the truth is, you always got to believe in Inter Miami. You always have to believe in this team because of what they're building and what they're doing. We talked about Rodrigo de Paul last week. It's official now, 100%. He'll be here this week coming up. He'll be debuting in the first Leagues Cup game in a couple of weeks. But like Coach Mascherano said yesterday at the end of the game, this team's been through a really brutal stretch over the last few weeks. A lot of games, not a lot of rest, and a ton of travel. And that's going to affect any squad, right? No matter how talented you are. But when it matters, they showed up. Like you said, Dan, they got outclassed on Wednesday by a Cincinnati side who has looked to be hitting their stride, going down 3-0 in Cincinnati, Ohio. But then when their back was up against the wall, when they needed to scrape a win out, and everybody thought that Mascherano was going to go and start a bunch of reserves and not start the team and do some sort of rotation. Nope, he stuck to his guns and he put the whole team in. And what did they do? They smashed the Eastern Conference reigning champions 5-1. And it wasn't perfect, no, but this isn't gymnastics. You're not going for a perfect 10 or a perfect 15. It's soccer. And sometimes, showing you mean business like they showed it last night means grinding through some of the mess and dropping 5 goals anyways, which is exactly what they did, giving up the first goal and then scoring 5 unanswered. So this team has the grit. This team has the heart, and it just needs the fans to get behind it and start believing in it as well.
I'm glad you bring that up, Daniel Solana, because you really do get into the minutia. You get into all the details. I was looking at some stats the other day that says that if you look at the analytics of this team, not wins and losses, not goals, but just the analytics, this year's team is far better than last year's team that won the Supporters Trophy. Have you noticed that the little things that maybe a casual soccer fan might not notice, that this Inter Miami team is actually much better than they were last year?
Absolutely. I mean, they're set up to have a much better starting lineup than they did last year, and you can see that on the pitch. The issue is in the bench, right? And that's where last year you had a lot of players on the bench, like a Matias Rojas who could come in, and some other players who were on the bench and can come in, and you didn't see that much of a difference between the players that started the game and the players that would come in off of the bench. This year, you don't have a lot of that. You have a lot of youth on the bench. You have Benjamin Kremaski usually on the bench. You have Fafa Pico, who used to be a very speedy player. We got to see him a little bit last night. We even got to see Santiago Morales, son of one of the assistant coaches, come in after he hadn't had minutes in a very long time for Inter Miami. So we got to see some of the other players, but the drop in talent is massive when you look at the starting lineup versus what you have on the bench. And, Mascherano is forced sometimes to hold some subs and not make some subs because he doesn't trust his bench. And really, I think that's what we're going to be seeing now when the transfer window opens on July 24th, this upcoming week, is you're not just going to see Inter Miami adding Rodrigo de Paul. You're going to be seeing them adding a couple of more pieces as well.
Is that because of the crazy schedule that they have in August? And after I guess there's a little maybe international 2 weeks in the beginning of September, and then they have 5 games in September. But I'm looking at their schedule right now in August. They have a game almost
every 3 or 4 days.
Every 3 or 4 days. There might be from Saturday, August 16th, when they take on LA Galaxy. Their next game is another week, the following week on the 23rd. But if if you look at their schedule, they have a game like every Saturday, Wednesday, Sunday, back to Wednesday.
Oh, and that's because they don't have the schedule up for the knockout stages for the
And
League
they don't
Cup.
have
Remember,
the leagues, right? And we haven't put up because they got 3 games in League Cup, so I'm not even including the extra League Cup games that they have. Is that why we should expect more buying during that period towards the end of the month? And this is why they've added so much young depth, because of this, what it to me looks like a very rigorous month in August for this team.
absolutely, and it's a very rigorous season in its totality, right? They started off playing MLS regular season, then they played CONCACAF Champions Cup. That was a lot of games, added to the schedule. They played the Club World Cup, which added an additional 4 games to the schedule, and now they have Leagues Cup coming up, which guarantees them 3 games, and not any 3 games. You're not playing MLS teams this year. You're playing 3 Mexican teams from the Liga MX. It's not going to be easy. You can see the Liga MX right now in the transfer window is making waves. I don't know if you guys saw, but Jamie Vardy is now signed to play Liga MX. Pumas got Angel Correa from Atlético de Madrid. So Liga MX is gearing up to win this tournament, and I think these 3 games are going to be very tough. And you nailed it, Vlad. It's going to be a game every 3 or 4 days through the month of August, possibly through the rest of the season. And what they need to do is they need to bring some more players, reinforce the team, and make sure that they have enough firepower to get to not only to get into the playoffs, because I know that they're going to get into the playoffs, but to do something when they get into the playoffs and not get upset like we were upset last year against Atlanta.
That's what I wanted to ask you. Is the lack of depth something to be concerned about? Because could it be one of those things like the Panthers? Let's just get into the playoffs and we'll find a way. We'll just play a lot of starter minutes in the playoffs. But will that possibly catch up to us? Or is it kind of diminished with the kind of way that the MLS playoffs is set up? The lack of depth, if we don't get that much more depth, should it be something we're worried about when we get into the MLS playoffs?
Absolutely. I think it's something that you definitely have to worry about, not just for the MLS playoffs, but now in the run-up to the MLS playoffs, right? Like we've been talking about, there's a lot of games coming up. Like Vlad mentioned, there's going to be a couple of international windows in September and October, which I'm sure Messi is going to go and play with the national team, as well as some other players that we have going to be playing with their national team. So it's going to be adding more minutes on those players. And at the end of the day, what do you need? You need fresh legs. So you need players to come in here who are, like we've been talking about, at a similar level as the starters, or at a better level than what we currently have on the bench, so that we are for sure, if something happens to one of our starters, we know that we have somebody that can just, next man up. Kind of like how we talk about hit culture, right? That's exactly what Inter Miami needs to do, and come up with their own culture so that they can have next man up, and especially deal with all the injuries. We still have a couple of injuries. Gonzalo Lujan was back in the lineup last night. So was Yannick Bright. But Ian Frey is still out. He's one of the center backs that is key to this team. Noah Allen, another one who was having a fantastic season. We've talked about him before. He's still injured as well. Like I mentioned, he'll be back in a couple of weeks, hopefully. We should look at as those guys coming back into the lineup also as kind of, I don't want to say additions to the team, but it's almost like we haven't seen them in over a month. So having them come back is going to be fantastic. And, we're waiting for them with open arms.
Can you answer me this? This is my theory. There's no middle ground with Inter Miami. They're either the best, they look unbelievable, or they look like they haven't played soccer ever. There's no middle ground, because they get shut out by FC Cincinnati on Wednesday, and then yesterday they score 5 goals. And that's what usually happens, if you notice, over at least, I would say, the last 6 weeks, because we're going to count the Club World Cup. When they score, they're going to score. They don't score, they're going to get beat bad. Why is there no middle ground for them right now?
I mean, I think it goes back to Mascherano's tactics. Mascherano's tactics has basically said, hey, we are going to find a way to get the ball to Messi and then have Messi create the magic for everybody else. And sometimes some teams figure that out and they man mark Messi, or they try to crowd him in the middle of the field. And unfortunately, if that's your tactics and you're going to crowd the person who you're going to look for in your tactics, then that's going to affect the way that, the rest of the players and the rest of the team is going to play. So to me, it goes back to Mascherano's tactics. He needs to figure out how to play against certain teams and needs to learn how to change up the way that his team plays. I think this team, when Rodrigo de Paul comes in, if they can get another winger like we've talked about in the past, they should play a much wider game. They should try to expand the field, use the width, use the speed that they have on the wings, with Fafa coming off the bench, with Tadeo Allende using his speed on the right wing. If we can get a left winger, somebody who can use their speed on that left wing, although we've seen Talasco Segovia have kind of a resurgence over the last few games. He had another brace last night, 2 beautiful goals. So these guys are making a effort to say, hey, we are here. We're ready to start. We are ready to play with Messi. And you can see that they're having a good time doing it. And they're just getting better and better as the season goes on.
Quick report cards real quick. I want to talk about Javier Mascherano. What would be a grade for him this far in his early career in Miami?
A C.
Really?
Thank you.
Middle ground C. Absolutely.
Okay, so what about your favorite player of all time, Luis Suarez? This year, what would you give him on his report card?
I give him a B-.
Oh, come on.
I told you. I know. Cool. It's B-.
You want to know why?
Yes, of course I want to know why.
And I'm sick and tired of the Luis Suarez slander that's been going on this season already. I understand he's not scoring 30 a season like he used to when he was on Liverpool, when he was on Barcelona, but that doesn't mean that he's not playing, great. I don't think, and let's be honest, I don't think he's playing great. I think it's obvious that, he's past his prime. I think you can tell that he's in pain when he plays on the game, but at the end of the day, he's leading Inter Miami in assists and sits 3rd in the league with 10 assists. And that's not luck. That's elite vision and football IQ. Suarez brings so much more than goals. And I understand he's the forward, but you also have to understand the tactic that Mascherano plays. And you can see them on display last night. Messi bringing up the ball, Suarez, posting up the center back, Messi finding Suarez passing it back to Messi threading the ball through a needle, getting it to Jordi Alba in the box. And that's what Suarez is supposed to be doing now. He's more of a player who's going to play with his back to the goal, who's going to distribute the ball, and they're not using him to score goals. So look, like I said, he brings much more than that. His link-up play, his movement, the way that he drags defenders. And who does he open up space for? Messi.
So let me ask you this, a little bit more on Suarez. Do you think it's us as fans and media members that we can't see somebody moving on in their playing career and changing the way they play and making it more team complementary than looking out more for him to get his goals, his shots off? Because what you're saying is absolutely true. If the guy has 10 assists, he's in the top 5 in assists. That means he's getting scoring opportunities for his teammates, and at his age, I think that's more of a plus than it is than a negative. So, is it just our mindset, our thinking, not because we're so used to this man scoring so many goals, we've seen him score goals for his other teams that we're just putting that on him right now? Like, oh no, you're here, you were brought here to score goals, so score goals.
Yeah, I think he's unfortunately he's a victim of his own past, right? He's scored so many goals over his career at so many clubs. Only a couple of years ago, leading Atletico de Madrid to a miraculous title win over Barcelona after they pushed him out of the club. And I think people were expecting that type of Suarez, but you have to understand the man is 38 years old. He's on a cheap contract, guys. He's on a very cheap contract. So to be in the top 3 in assists in the MLS on the contract that he's on, I think he's making 1.2 million, which is absolutely nothing when you look at the rest of the squad. So, I mean, he's on a bargain deal. I think every single team in the MLS would take Suarez on that deal. And if you're not, then you're absolutely nuts.
I want to ask you this, Daniel Solana. Next 2 Saturdays, Inter Miami going to be hosting teams. FC Cincinnati coming to town 7:15 this coming Saturday. The following Saturday, Inter Miami taking on a Liga MX team. Is it Necaxa?
Necaxa.
Necaxa.
Necaxa?
Okay, so I had it right
right.
this time. I was getting nervous.
Well, yeah,
we know-
that middle part's tough.
We know FC Cincinnati has traditionally been a tough matchup for Inter Miami. I don't know much about Necaxa. Which game would be better to go to?
I mean, personally, if you want to see a good game, I think both are good to go to, but I would prefer to go to the FC Cincinnati game. It's on a Saturday. It's payback time, right? It's payback time. They just beat you 3-0. What better way to get back at them and a good game to go to than, against Inter Miami, at home, FC Cincinnati. It's going to be beautiful, boys. I know you guys want to go. I'll be out there. I'm trying to convince my brother Alejandro if he'll join us as well.
You don't need your brother.
Hey.
I'm just kidding. I'm not. I love Alejandro, but we just gotta act like everybody. There's
single match tickets.
There's some beef when there's really no beef.
Let's see.
I'll tell you this: the cool thing about the Necaxa game is going to be there's probably going to be a lot of Mexican fans at the game, and that'll make it a lot more fun because usually, when you get two MLS teams, there's not a lot of not a lot of fans that come from the opposing team. And what makes it fun than when you can chant at each other in the game? So, in terms of atmosphere, I think the Necaxa game is going to be a better atmosphere, but it's also midweek to get to Chase Stadium midweek. It's already tough.
Necaxa is a Saturday.
Oh, it's the following Saturday?
It's the second game, not the first.
So okay, the second game.
So just go to